Okay. Hello, good evening, all of you. Nice to meet you on YouTube. With me are Suma and Priya. They have been TAs to this course. There is one more person, Vimal. He's not with us today. So, yeah, I mean, things are smooth because Suma, Vimal, and Priya and Karthik. And yeah, wonderful. So I gather that you have a chat box now, and you're welcome to ask me any question relating to the course, and and for a deeper immersion in LCDS, we'll have a chat. Okay. Maybe first we can start addressing the questions that are already with Suman Priya, and then as we go, we can keep going, I guess. What do you think? Both of you?
Sure, sir. We'll start with those questions.
Yeah. Okay, Priya, you can start.
Okay, so the first question asked by Ashwini B is, how researches are taking place in disability studies in the contemporary times, especially by disabled scholars?
Disabled people. Okay, fine. This is a very interesting question, and you ask the notion of contemporary. Okay. Yeah, let's get in. See, as such, all identity-based disciplines, including disability studies, is bound to real life of people with a disability, their sense of activism, their sense of, their sense of everyday life difficulties, challenges, their sense of pride, their sense of connectedness or lack thereof. So that's what drives. That is the kind of thing that drives all identity-based disciplines. So certainly, contemporary disability studies is gearing towards that direction. So what are the broader strands you are asking me? One is the kind of, sorry for the noise in the background, there's some servicing work happening in the next room. The kind of things that are happening in other disciplines, such as gender studies. What are happening? Imagine that third wave feminism, people are talking about fourth wave. Things look fragmented, things look introspective, things look, now it is all about, agency, subjectivity, growing up, dismantling of grand narrative. All that seems to be impacting disability studies as well, contemporary disability studies, there's no doubt. And our course is also a symptom of a deeper development that is predominantly white-dominated or male-dominated disability studies from the West. Now it is shifting towards other parts of the globe. And that also means frameworks that belong to, say, Europe and America, they get modulated, mutated, they get, transformed into new frames. For example, environmental toxicity is becoming a new force behind contemporary disability studies. So environmental literary criticism, environmental cultural theory, environmental social theory, social psychology of social environments, all that becoming so influential now. Uh, looking at it, um, you know, disability is seen from real experiences of real challenges, poverty-induced disability, toxicity-induced disability, disabilities as debilities, disabilities emerging from wars, um, insurgencies, um, migrations, forced migrations, exiles, uh, religious persecutions, imperialist persecutions. Oh, they are endless. And they are getting, those things are informing our disability contemporary. And of course, young people are getting into social media. They have one foot on the digital platform and one foot on earth, as it were, one foot in cloud and earth. That again is doing the rounds in uh, contemporary uh, disability studies. And uh, people lived realities. See, the old anxieties about religious model, medical model is there, but they are getting modulated, if I can say so. How? How? Well, um, at the end of the day, we all have to come to terms with faith, Hinduism, Christianity, Islam, and innumerable other non-dominant faiths. And those people are getting exposed to English education and again to disability studies frameworks and so on. They, now people are talking about um, how to navigate faiths with a disability and how faiths should or ought to handle disability, or how faiths have already handled disability. All that is emerging now. In fact, this is the most interesting time for DS because DS is a field that is saying, hey, come on, grow up, body is important, uh, mental capacities, cognitive variations, emotional variations, they are important. Uh, Feeling, looking, appearance, all these things are important. Come on, what are you going to do without it? That kind of centrality, disability studies is gaining. Well, I'm not here to advertise the field. I'm just a student of DS. But these are the current strands, right? We can chat further. Well, I'm just, you know, speaking aloud. Uh, um, there may be inconsistencies in what I'm saying, but broadly, this is what I can see for now. But during the course of our chat, we can say more. I stop there for now.
Okay, so that was a good answer. Can we move on to the second question?
Sure.
Okay, so the next question asked by Ahuti is, what is the role of emerging field of digital humanities in canon formation for LCDS?
This is very nice. Digital humanities. Okay. Hi, Ahuti. Yeah, I think we know each other. Right. Digital humanities. Let me start this way. What is digital humanities? Digital humanities is nothing but application of classical, or let's not use the word classical, application of traditional humanities frameworks to a digital framework, to a digital domain. That is digital humanities. Is that right? Um, for example, what are the traditional humanities stuff? The art of close reading. That's one way to. The art of interpretation, the art of correlation. I read one novel and then I have another idea, such as gender. Then I correlate both. I read a 16th century novel or play, then I correlate to 16th century historical events. Correlation. What else happened in humanities? In humanities, we also um, talk about the interpreter themselves. What if the interpreter is a priest? What if the interpreter is a woman? What if the interpreter is a child? What if the interpreter is a disabled? In traditional humanities, we also have history of book. How do books evolve? Say the Holy Bible. How has it informed humanity for last 2000 years? That's huge field, you know. That's a humanities, traditional humanities question. How do people relate to their memory? Cultural memory, individual memory, uh, community memory, memory of made up memory, post memory, all that. That's a traditional humanities question. What else happens in humanities? For humanities people, language is very important. I live and thrive because of language. When my community dies, my language also dies. The commingling of language and community formation, identity, agency, subjectivity, readership, this and that. The relationship between historiography and interpretation. So these are the traditional humanities questions. What does digital humanities? It just gives a digital signature to all these things. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less about digital humanities. Tanya. Thank you. Thank you. Let me have a sip. Yeah. So, what does digital humanities now do to LCDS? I like the way you call it LCDS. That's that's how we all fondly call our discipline. Right. See, this digital humanities is doing good rounds across the fields in all identity-based studies and beyond. In disability studies, in the following three ways. People with disabilities, different disabilities, especially deaf communities, autistic communities, and to many extent, people with other sensory disabilities and all, they have found the digital platform very emancipatory, right? So, for example, I can take to WhatsApp or other Telegram and other Instagram and other services where I can become more than what I am. or I can present myself more than what I am. I can avoid um, dangers that come with face-to-face interaction. I can also gather a new persona. Uh, I can also use sign language without inhibition. I can seek recourse to the medium that suits me, such as graphical medium. Visual medium is just not one medium. It is a graphical medium, textual medium, emoji medium, this and that, sign medium, right? So disabled people have found it very, very um, emancipatory. Second, um, digital medium also have become the medium of assistive technology, screen readers, screen magnifiers, OCR technologies, a variety of entertainment like Alexa, Siri, and all. There are household names now, right? My nephew keeps talking to Siri for 1 hour, and then I go to, hey, whom are you talking? I'm talking to Siri. So she has become his friend, little fellow's friend. And I bet uh, digital modality of caring, accessing uh, hitherto inaccessible spaces have become very important. So therefore, the experiential knowledge of disabled people is building up. In fact, people with different vulnerabilities, including disabled people like elderly, children, they have got into digital media before even those who perceive themselves to be non-vulnerable, they got back to it much before. So in that sense, um, digital humanities sees it a golden opportunity to archive, curate, present, gather all these experiences in one place for a huge interpretative uh, endeavor. So in that sense, digital humanities and disability studies, uh, they're good friends, yeah. Yeah. So that's seems to be the first approach to the field, uh, if you like, alliance, strategic alliance between both the fields. The second is the, the notion of pushing the notion of interpretation. For example, I have a book with me, maybe Wuthering Heights. I want to know what's happening there in the book. I read it, I make notes, and so on. Suppose I want to know an expression connected to caring in that book. Well, I can take 12 hours, 24 hours, 50 hours, 150 hours, depending on my speed of reading and access to the material. I can take that much. But now, thanks to digital humanities and a variety of score of softwares that can look for certain morphemes, lexical indices, sentence structures, idioms, uh, analogies, this and that, okay? There are plenty out there, plenty of tools. So for this kind of interpretative capacity is increasing by the tools of computation that is in our hand now. And if we want to do, I hate that noise. Um, well, so if you want to, if you want to go that route, it is available, and there are many tools out there. I don't remember names of the tools now, but you know, a simple Wikipedia search will take you there. That's not a big big deal at all. So that's second way. The third utility in the strategic alliance between LCDS and DS in general and digital humanities is about the archive. Mm, archive is a huge term. In simple words, it's a collection of materials. Um, and the materials may include ideas. For example, uh, giving real examples, how do millennials understand uh, how do millennials understand, say, parenting? Then there are tools that can uh, look for tweets, Facebook entries. You will gather them, and these tools can scan them for certain phrases and idioms. But the other way is to transform everyday life into the digital world. For example, how does teaching, what is the teaching style of a particular university? Suppose you want to study that, and how it impacts uh, people with different vulnerabilities, including disability. Then you go and orally interview people, first generation teachers, second generation, third generation, teachers who taught 30 years ago. So in other words, that's called oral history. Oral history is gaining new momentum because thanks to an impulse to digitally record the fleeting moments of life, present and past. Uh, of course, oral histories are useful tool to aided by digital media and technologies. Oral histories have come handy for people to study spaces that are not formally recognized, like mark on the wall scenario. We did a story, right? So people who are afflicted or confined to within four walls, like institutionalized people, elderly, most marginalized, people who don't have voice, and so on. To recover them, to curate them, to centralize them, to manipulate them, digital humanities have come handy. And oral history projects are gaining a huge momentum, including our part of the world. So if you are interested in oral history, there are good introductory books to oral history. And reading that in combination with LCDs and digital humanities can be a very rich, very rich research exercise. Um, uh, Recently, this Corona has inculcated a lot of oral history projects. All people have to do is have their mobile phone and start recording fleeting moments and see some think through it. that kind of projects are abound in the world, actually. There are many fellowships, if you like, doctoral and postdoctoral fellowships associated with oral histories in combination with digital humanities. So that if you have such ambitions and a desire for that way of working, there are plenty of opportunities out there. All right, I think that's what I have to say for now.
Hello, sir.
Suma?
Yes, sir. We have one more question. Like we have a few questions, and this is the first one.
Okay.
Will our proctorate exam be based on MCQs or also include any descriptive questions? I asked this specifically because I do not require scribe for MCQ question, but I require scribe for descriptive answers.
Okay, I think we had one descriptive answer, no, Suma, in the beginning. So I don't think we need another.
Okay. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what it is.
Yeah,
so
should I proceed to the next
you'll
one?
be fine. Yeah.
Yeah. Next one is that there's a request, if possible, to provide us access to the recommended books as well as others referred by you during lectures, as many learners like me do not have institutional access.
Oh, I'm so sorry. This is going to be difficult. In fact, we on NPTEL recording, we are not even allowed to show a small YouTube clip because of copyright violations problem. Definitely, this is impossible, but there are ways to do it. These are the ways, some of the ways. If you are disabled, participant, please write to Bookshare. Bookshare has a huge collection of books digitally available for people with print disabilities. If you're a non-disabled teacher, you can acquire teaching copy from these publishers. If you're not a teacher and a learner from some other participant from some other sector, there are many informal means to acquire these books. For legal reasons, I won't be able to point you to those sources. A simple connect with your neighbor in this group will help you that way. Of course, some books are available in e-format via Kindle and other e-book services for rent. That's also possible. So check with your neighbor. I mean, these things, people work around in our part of the world. So, so I cannot say more on that. Thank you.
Hello, sir.
Yes, Suma.
Yeah, we have one more. There is a request to provide the transcripts for the course. Yeah.
We will.
Yeah, that one. Yes.
Certainly.
And, then we have one more question by Salma. So
Okay.
she asks, kindly give your points on post-human disability.
Okay, post-human. See, post-human is an interesting concept which is doing the rounds now because our lives are getting integral to digital technology, robotics, the notion of mind, for example. My mind is no more just inside. It's extended to internet that I'm connected to, and this community of scholars that I'm connected to now via YouTube, for example. Whatever post-human concept, Donna Haraway onwards, available on film studies and identity studies, can definitely be useful, Salma. Apart from that, there are very interesting articles in Disability Studies Quarterly I have seen. Check it out. They are very good. And if you're a researcher, then you can certainly check with certainly uh, work on one idea such as screen readers or digital technologies and how they uh, define human interpretation and so on. That'll be a fabulous pathway to explore. Yeah.
Hello, sir.
Yes, Suma.
Yeah, so there is another question by Dr. V. Ponmari. So she asks, what might be the positive way for people with disabilities to break the stigma and stereotypes of the gaze or aesthetic nervousness of the normal?
Okay. See, this is a nice question, although a general one. Lot of disabled people, women, elderly, people who look different, they evolve strategies all through their life. I don't think this is unique to disability. It is, for example, you join a company which is 99% men and 1%, just one woman, then you know what that means. I've been navigating so-called rules, for example, company rules. They, uh, somebody, your boss will say, according to this rule, you cannot have, you cannot absent yourself during this meeting. Doing so will lead to penalty. But these so-called rules were laid when diversity was not in place in the first place. Therefore, it's a rule that is, bakwas right from its inception. So, how to navigate that? So, as a woman, somebody will develop strategies to handle that. Maybe wearing a tough or wearing a stronger expression on the face is one strategy to cope up with sexism, for example. That's not the only strategy. There are many things. So likewise, disabled people evolve many strategies to handle stigma. One of them is work hard. I can prove myself and come out of the stereotype that they were assigned to. The other strategy is to avoid that space. For example, I remember reading Vedmeta as a teenager, his autobiography. Okay? As a teenager, it seems in his part of the learning world, that is America, in 1950s, it sounded uncouth to eat an orange with hands. So it seems he has to open the peel, gently scoop with a spoon, and eat it. It sounded too messy for him and very risky. Therefore, he thought he will sound uncouth. And started saying, I don't like oranges at all. I only eat apple because it's easy to cut and tap it inside with a fork. So withdrawal, avoidance, these are some of the ways in which people cope up with stigma. The otherwise is to own their identity. Black pride, Dalit pride, disabled pride, deaf pride, mad pride. If you call me useless, okay, I am useless, number one. I'm great. I'm Mandir, number one. I don't care. See, this is what happened to people. If you push somebody to the wall, and if you push them too much, they're going to look back. Okay, you push me to the wall. Push me more. No worries. Nothing will happen to me. So that's another strategy. You see, um, uh, there are other ways, such as writing, inventing a canon. See, all these identity-based studies is also about uh, gathering alternative knowledge traditions. You call Africa a dark continent? Oh, really? Then they'll say, let me show you the beauty of darkness. Let me show you the beauty of blackness. And they started writing the canon back. Derek Walcott, Ole Shoenka, Toni Morrison, so many millions of young boys and girls, they participated for 100 and 200 years in that grand canon effort, right? I don't think it is much different. I don't think we should always cut disability from the larger picture and see it. It's better we see it within the larger picture and also see it with a torch. So that way, we have a great advantage. Yeah. What do you think? Yeah, I mean, for books and all that, on stigma, you can start with disability studies reader, Erving Goffman on stigma and so on. But, books on staring, Rosemary Garland Thompson, very nice. Books on film and disability, how disability is represented, how disability looks back at the film. And notion of pride, autism pride studies. There are great places to enrich our knowledge on disability specific stigma management approaches. Another approach is to become familiar with autobiography, life writings. People with serious illnesses, cancer, HIV. I mean, when I meant serious, I didn't mean that they have to be serious. Illnesses that affect people deeply. Illness narratives, disability narratives, growing up narratives, coming out narratives, they all handle stigma differently. For example, coming out. Let's talk about coming out. Suppose somebody is a gay or lesbian, has a deep felt inner orientation that I feel my sense of attraction, my sense of sexuality, my sense of inner being feels different. I feel lesbian inside. Then declaring that openly is something next to suicide. So what they do is they come out slowly with a million edges. step by step, sometimes in leaps and bounds, sometimes very discreetly. So that's the way to come out about the stigmatic world, you know. So there are many strategies. Some are rhetorical in nature, some are practical, some are um, elemental, some are aggressive, some are radical, some are iconoclastic. Yeah. So we have to. Uh, it's great to watch, great to be observant about how people handle stigma, and with the different stages in life. I mean, children handle it differently. Suppose my child has a scar here, and she will, handle it differently in the classroom. It's important to learn from her instead of saying, hey, you do this. Because human preservation is a fundamental instinct. So I guess, madam, these are the ways we can, learn from stigma management enterprises around us. Suma? Oh, are we lost?
Hello, sir.
Yes, Suma.
Yeah, sir. So we have the sheet. In the sheet, we are done with the sheet, the Excel sheet. So we are moving on to the YouTube chat. And
are there chats there? Are there?
No, sir. We have around 2 questions there.
For now. Okay.
Yeah, for now. So
okay.
Can I start?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So one question is, can we say that the visibility of DS as the voices from the periphery?
Yeah, we can. Voices from the margin to the center. I mean, see, if the emphasis is on the voice, but if the emphasis is on modes of access, modes of presentation, interpretation, or is about something else, dramaturgy, rhetoric. It depends on what do we want to gain from DS at that moment. If it is about voice, certainly yes. Certainly yes. Yes, Suma.
So we have one more by Sharada Devi. So she asks, sir, what is your opinion on using reflexive methodology and standpoint theory in research related to LCDS?
Oh, thank you, Sharda. It's a great approach. There are different strands associated with reflexive approaches. There is a great field called autoethnography in ethnography research. There is a fantastic book called Autoethnography Reader. I strongly suggest that book for those who are interested. Autoethnography is not about self alone. It could be about your life, your township, your style of learning, your school, your linguistic community, your millennial setting, and so on. So autoethnography can, if you like, connect the tree and the wood. Tree is your life, single, and the woods is the larger picture. So it connects both, That way, reflexive methodology is very useful. However, there is a note of caution. Sometimes it also depends on what stage of life you are in. It also depends on your particular context. Maybe one is not ready to reveal too much about private past, emotionally, politically. It is not yet safe. I generally discourage autoethnography as a framework for analysis among my students, although I ask them to do it in the background, not as a final dissertation submission for both MA and PA and PhD, because they may end up saying something which they don't have to at that moment, and it can wound them. So it depends on what political context you are in. However, autoethnography as a reflexive approach is what humanities discipline is all about. See, at the end of the day, I'm doing DS because I'm able to existentially connect with that discipline. It informs my everyday life. For my student, they also existentially connect with it because their dear teacher is a person with a disability, or their cousin, or their mom, or their uncle, or somebody else. They could connect with their experiences. So, in other words, while reflexivity cannot be, self-reflexivity cannot be, done away with, reflexive methodologies have to be done with care and deeper reflection. Otherwise, there is a risk of, saying something which you are not yet ready. So that's my first impression of your question. Yeah. Suma?
Yes, sir. So we are done with the questions
Okay.
from the sheet and the YouTube chat box as well. Yes.
Okay, great. Well, if there is any, we'll wait for a minute. If there is none, maybe, time to say bye. Let's wait, Suma and Priya, for a minute and see.
Sure, sir.
Yeah. Okay, great. I think hope you all enjoying the course and the conversations. We are trying to do as much as as best as we can. But this transcript thing is something we will make sure that it is available to you. Hope this LCDS course feeds into your thought process and your own connect with other, notions and frameworks and fields of inquiry. Yeah. Suman, Priya, are we getting any message? No, right?
No, so there's nothing new.
Okay, great. On behalf of Suma, Priya, Vimal, and Karthik, I thank you, all of you. we'll meet soon. Okay. Do you both want to say anything?
Nothing, sir. Just thank you for the session. This was very informative.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Okay. Bye-bye.